Hello, and welcome back to Defying the Stars Tarot and Astrology. For this week's Pick a Deck video, we are going to be returning to the subject of love and romance. It is a subject that I try not to hit on every single week because there is much more to life than that, but it is a big part of life. And so I think that it is time that we come back to the idea. For this week's reading, I am going to be asking, is this connection the real deal? Are they in it for the long haul? Is this connection going to last? Um, so if you've never joined us before, just to give you a quick overview, there are 4 decks here. We have the Shakespeare Oracle deck. We have the Jane Austen Tarot. We have Modern Witch Tarot, and we have the Critical Role 10th Anniversary Tarot deck here. So they're numbered on the screen for you, 1 through 4. You're going to pick the deck that calls the most to you. If you're not sure, if you are going back and forth, I would recommend taking a deep breath and letting it out slowly. Close your eyes. As you take that deep breath in and let it out, open your eyes and see which deck kind of draws your eye first. And I would suggest going with that one. Each deck will have its own reading, so the timestamps for each deck's reading will be in the description below, and they should automatically fill in along your video scroller. So find the deck that calls to you and jump ahead to that reading to find out, is this connection the real deal? I will see you in your reading. Hello, and welcome to our first reading, deck number 1, the Shakespeare Oracle. We are asking today, is this connection the real deal? I've gone ahead and shuffled this deck off camera, so we will cut it real quick and go ahead and pull our first 3 cards. For those of you who may be new here, I pull 3 cards to start with, and then I will go ahead and pull some clarifiers after we talk about the first 3. Okay, so we are looking at the Queen of Chalices, to start off, the Queen of Cups, the World reversed, and the King of Coins reversed. So in terms of asking, is this connection the real deal? Let's see what we've got here. With the Queen of Chalices coming in, I think that it's upright, so this is probably the more favorable version of the Queen of Cups. The Queen of Cups can be very emotional and very, very controlled by her emotions, is the key word. Because just because you're emotional doesn't mean that you are not perfectly capable of reason and self-control. But the Queen of Cups reversed can be a little out of control with her emotions. With the Queen of Cups coming in here, I think what we see is a person. This could be you. This could be the person that we are questioning. Is this the real deal? This is a person with a lot of feeling, a lot of capacity for love and nurturing and giving. This is a person who, again, may be prone to give in to their emotions, to be blinded by or controlled by their emotions. But in their best aspects, they are incredibly compassionate and empathetic and capable of really giving a lot in a relationship. So that's a good card to start off with in terms of, is this connection the real deal? Now, with the World card coming in reversed here, I sense that there is some incompletion. There is something is not quite full circle here. And with the World reversed, I think that maybe there is a lot of pressure on this relationship, possibly. We see here that there's a figure here holding up the world, kind of like Atlas in mythology, holding up the weight of the world. So that's what comes to mind here with this reversed. It's like maybe that weight is a little heavy right now. And maybe that's why you're here questioning, is this the real deal? Because there is a lot of pressure from the outside coming in right now. Maybe there's just a lot of pressure on this person that you're thinking of. Maybe they are going through a lot and they are not showing up quite the way that you would hope because they are dealing with so much and they have so much burden on their shoulders. Um, I get the sense that this is more of an external influence than something intrinsic to this person or this relationship. So it may be a matter of patience to get through some of those heavier times. Um, because when the world comes back around upright, um, you have a sense of completion, of fullness, of the world is your oyster kind of vibe. um, so I think that right now we're in a bit of a tough spot with that, with just the burdens of life and how heavy those can be on one's shoulders. With the King of Coins reversed, the King of Coins is a figure who is very much in control, especially of his material environment and his circumstances. When he's upright, he is generous and kind of a benevolent leader, someone who um, gives and shares what they have, very philanthropic. But the King of Coins as a figure is typically going to be very wealthy and very well off because they have built up their resources and they have managed them very carefully. Um, with the King of Coins coming in reversed here, we get some of the more negative characteristics of that person, that extreme frugality, stinginess, um, not wanting to share, feeling like they need to hoard what they have, feeling like um, others are out to take what they have. Um, I think in the context of this connection and this relationship, if that descriptor doesn't apply well to this person you're thinking of or to the situation that you're in, I think in the context of, is this connection the real deal? I think that this card in reverse right now could indicate that this person is holding a lot back. They are being very cautious and very careful. They are dictated more by fear and and a drive for security and stability than by um, perhaps more noble concerns right now. Um, So let's get some more cards to dig deeper into this because I think we have a mixed bag here. We have, there's I'm getting a sense that perhaps we have the two sides of the relationship right now, where one person is very open and very giving and receptive, and the other is very closed off and very stingy and withdrawn. And with the world in between, I think that there's a lot of work to do to get these two on the same page. Let's get some clarifiers though, because I want to make sure that I'm reading this as intended. Okay, so under our Queen of Wands, we have the Queen of Scepters. So I'm getting, having two queen cards here, I'm getting the sense that this is one person in the relationship with a lot of feminine energy. It doesn't mean that it has to be a woman or someone who identifies as female. But it's a lot of that softer energy, those soft collaborative qualities rather than more hard aggressive qualities. Um, with the Queen of Scepters, we have someone who is very much, very much in charge, very much interested in keeping things moving, taking action. The Queen of Scepters is particularly good at delegating and getting other people to move, keeping things on task, keeping things going in the right direction. Um, The Queen of Scepters does not like to sit back and wait. She does not like um, be patient or wait for other people to get up the nerve to act. There's not a lot of a sympathy for that there. So I think between the Queen of Cups and the Queen of Scepters, what we have is one person in this relationship is ready to go. They are open, they are feeling it, they don't understand what the holdup is, they're ready to go forward. They're ready to deepen this connection. Um, let's check out the World here. Under the World, we have the Magician. So the Magician is all about, and you can see it beautifully in this card. You have, Shakespeare holding a marionette of Shakespeare, holding another marionette of Shakespeare, and on and on and on. Um, the Magician is the puppet master of everything. The Magician is pulling the strings. They are writing the play, directing the play, producing the play. They're doing all of it. With the Magician coming in on the World reversed, what I see here is a need for initiative and taking control of a situation, um, a need for taking charge of one's own destiny. Um, I want to get the third card before I say more on the Magician here and give any advice. But let's look at what comes up for our King of Coins reversed with our clarifier card. Okay, we have the Eight of Wands. I want to go ahead and read the quote for you that's on the card. All things be ready if our minds be so, from Henry V. With the Eight of Wands, especially coming in reversed here, this is someone who is perhaps not ready. Um, I don't want to crush any hopes or dreams here, but I think that you're here for a reason, and I want to be honest with you in what I see in the cards. With the Eight of Wands reversed, this is someone who's not ready. This is someone who is overwhelmed, who has, this could be just a lot going on in their own personal life. Could be a lot going on with work, family, friends, etc., etc. But this is someone who is too busy getting their ducks in a row, who is too busy trying to protect what they have or build their own little empire. But this is someone who's just too busy to be ready for this kind of connection. So coming back to that Magician, I think that is a cue to you that it is time for you to take the reins and take charge of this situation. And probably what that's going to come down to is being open and honest about what you want, and being willing to set some boundaries around that, and to say, this is what I want, and if you're not ready for that, then I will go find someone who is. And it's not so much, I think that people hate to do that because it feels like an ultimatum, and it is in its own way. But ultimatums are not inherently bad. They're not inherently manipulative. If you are coming at it with honesty and saying, look, this is what I want, this is what I think needs to happen, it's up to you whether you want to be open to compromise there. It's up to you whether you want to say, if you're not ready, I'm willing to give it some time. But you should really, have some firm idea of how much time are you going to give it? How long are you going to give this connection time to materialize and mature? Because, a lot of times, and this is me going into the realm of personal experience and personal advice at this point, a lot of times you meet what seems like the right person at just the wrong time. And that rarely comes back to fruition. But it comes back to the whole idea of, if you love something, let it go. If it's meant to be, it will be. And so if this is the real deal, if it is the real connection, even if you walk away and say, I'm going to let you do what you need to do, hit me up when you're there. If this is really meant to be, then when they're ready and they come back to you, then it will be the right time and you will be able to form that connection. Um, and just to give a personal example, my husband and I, we've been married for almost 5 years now, but sorry, almost 4 years now. We've been dating for almost 5 years now. We started dating almost 5 years ago, I should say. Um, but we dated for about a month before we had a moment where we hit a wall like this, where I wasn't happy with the vibe of the relationship. And I said, you know what? I'm not okay with this. And he threw up his hands and said, okay, fine, bye. And I kind of just went on with life and focused on me and did my own thing. And then maybe 3 weeks to a month later, I got a text from him saying, hey, I'd really like to talk again. And the rest is history. So sometimes setting those boundaries and having those limits and being clear about where you're at and what you want, it may not get you the result immediately in the moment, but it can set the stage for the thing when the time is right. And with the world coming in reversed, I do feel like there's a lot to do with timing here. So overall impressions, I can't tell you whether this connection is the real deal or is not. The cards didn't give me that information, even though that was the question we were going for. But what I can say is that if it's going to be the real deal, you need to be true to yourself and be true to what you want and be willing to take charge of that situation and take the reins and set your own boundaries and limitations. So um, I hope that was helpful. I hope you got something out of that. Please let me know with a comment, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. But that is all for now. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you again. Hello, welcome to our reading for deck number 2, the Jane Austen Tarot deck. I have gone ahead and shuffled off camera, so we're going to cut the deck and get right into it. If you've never been in a reading with me before, okay, that one wanted to be on top. I go ahead and draw 3 cards, and then we'll discuss those 3 cards, and then I will draw 3 more for additional information and clarity. We have here, all right, for our first card, we have the 5 of Diamonds. That would be the 5 of Coins. And we have the 9 of Spades, or the 9 of Swords, and the King of Spades, or the King of Swords. And you can see that this deck, because it does not have major arcana cards in it, it associates certain cards with some of those major arcana cards that we're familiar with. This 5 of Coins is associated with the Hierophant, and the King of Swords is associated here with the Emperor. So we'll talk about both of those energies as we are going through these. So is this connection the real deal, is the question that we're tackling. Let's see what we have here. With the 5 of Coins, first off, let's talk about the Hierophant energy. The Hierophant is a figure of traditional authority. The Hierophant I always associate with institutions, with a lot of tradition, with a lot of belief systems that have a lot of history and tradition to them, like old religions or you know, even political ideologies, things like that. Traditional ways of living, of going about life. So what we could have here is a figure in this relationship who is very traditional and conservative and has clear ideas about how they want to live and what kind of beliefs they want to live by. With the Five of Coins side of this energy, the Five of Coins usually depicts someone out in the cold, outside of a lit up building, sometimes a church. Um, the Five of Coins is an energy of regret, of the consequences of poor choices, of hardship, of scarcity. I think I'm leaning more, just because of the figure on the card and all of that, I'm leaning more towards that Hierophant energy. I think that there's someone in this relationship who is very traditional and has very firm beliefs. That may be you, that may be the other person. But I think there is a fear here that we're not going to be able to come together and agree on those things. But let's get through the rest of the cards before I draw too many conclusions about that. With the Nine of Swords coming in, that is a card of worry, of sleepless nights, of tossing and turning, anxiety running rampant through your mind. When you are in a Nine of Swords headspace, it is very difficult to see things clearly because you are so ruled by fear. You are seeing the fears and anxieties rather than the reality in front of you. You're surrounded by these swords and you almost can't see anything but swords around you because of that. I think here, when we're talking about, is this connection the real deal? With that Nine of Swords coming in as the centerpiece of this reading, I really think that perhaps it is time to take a step back and try to get out of that circle of swords, try to get out of that cycle of anxiety and fear. Um, I think that in worrying so much about it, it could actually be stifling the connection. It could be hindering the connection and preventing one or both of you from seeing things clearly. With the King of Swords, or with the Emperor tag applied there, I think that the other person in this relationship is someone who is highly rational, highly logical, doesn't have a lot of time for the overly emotional, for histrionics, um, for arbitrary things. Um, the King of Swords is very good at just sort of cutting through the nonsense and getting down to the heart of things and seeing things clearly for what they are and not being swayed by emotion. Or what is coming in particularly for me is they are not particularly swayed by the argument of tradition. They are not particularly swayed by blind faith. They are not particularly swayed by, this is the way it's always been done, so why wouldn't we keep doing it that way? That to them does not have a lot of logic to it, especially if there are things on the other side of it that say, but there's a better way to do it. What I'm seeing here in this connection is some conflict between someone who sees things very clearly, or at least believes that they see things very clearly, and is not interested in compromising on that. But on the other side of the relationship, you have someone who is very concerned with tradition and their own belief system, and is also not concerned with compromising on that. And so it doesn't surprise me that there's a lot of worry and anxiety at the heart of this, because this seems to be a bit of an immovable situation. It seems like neither party is particularly interested in compromise here. I'm going to go ahead and pull the clarifier cards, though, see if we can get some more information about what's really going on here and whether this connection is the real deal, if it's salvageable. Under our 5 of coins and our Hierophant, we have the 4 of clubs, or the 4 of wands. The 4 of wands is, it's often associated with homecoming, but it's a card of stability and pause. Fours are always about stability. 4 is a very stable number, 4 legs of a table, 4 legs of a chair. 4 is also often associated with rest and retreat. The 4 of swords is all about taking a mental break. The 4 of cups is about taking an emotional break. With the 4 of wands, we have a break from action, a break from labor. I think with this coming in on the Hierophant 5 of coins, I think the person here who is so interested in tradition and their belief system is really probably tired of defending it, is probably getting tired of fighting for it. Or not necessarily fighting for it, but fighting to defend it. I really think this is a defensive posture. I think there's a real desire for a rest and to just, can we just let it go and let it be for a while? They are looking for stability and security. They don't want to have to fight all the time over their traditions, their beliefs, their lifestyle, whatever this deeply held conviction is. So if that's you, I think, you will be able to know right away. That could also be the other person in the relationship. I'm leaning more towards the first card is the viewer and the third card is the other person in the connection. That's what I felt with the first deck that we did. It's kind of what I'm feeling here, but it doesn't have to be true for every situation. So take it as it makes the most sense to you. I'm getting clarification on this 9 of swords. We have the King of clubs, or the King of wands, which they have associated here with the magician. The King of wands is someone who does not wait. They do not wait around to take action. They do not dilly-dally. They are not ones to spend a lot of time in deep contemplation before deciding on a course of action. And when they have decided what they want, when they have decided what they want to go after, they do it. The magician is a card of power and initiative, of being able to control the situation, of being able to take charge of the situation and kind of manifest the outcome that they desire. I think with this coming in on the 9 of swords, this is really a call to action. This is a call to come out of the state of silent internal worry, fear, anxiety, and to take charge of the situation. It's really interesting that the magician came in here. It came in the exact same position on deck number 1. I think that my decks are really speaking loudly today about, if you're not sure about this situation, if you are having a problem with this connection, then it's time to take charge of that and take action and address it. So for you, when it comes to final advice on what that looks like with your magician, I will come back to that. We're going to do the final clarifier card on our King of Swords Emperor figure. Okay, we have the 3 of coins. Okay, so I might have been a little bit too quick to judge this King of Swords, because the 3 of coins calls for teamwork. and collaboration. It calls for working together toward a common goal. Um, it is often used in the sense of, hey, it's time to let other people in, let other people help you with something. But in the sense of this reading, I feel like what it's telling us is this figure, the King of Swords, the Emperor, they are actually hoping to work together. They may seem very uncompromising because they are so logical and um, so cut and dry, so black and white in the way that they see things. But they are actually interested in compromise and working together. I think seeing all of this together now, the big picture that I have of this scenario is one person in this relationship is really invested in a certain way of doing things, a lifestyle, a religious practice, a belief system. They feel like they are constantly defending it against this extremely rational figure, this person um, who is very unforgiving in their questioning of it and their exploration of the ideas and the quest for the truth. And it's causing a lot of anxiety over, is this something that we can overcome? Is this something that we are ever going to be able to see eye to eye on? Am I going to have to compromise my beliefs? Am I going to have to, um, do I need to just cut ties and walk away because I'm so tired? And I think what we see here on the other side of it is that even though this person seems very black and white and very hard-nosed, very questioning, very intense, they are actually open to compromise. They are open to working together. And I think with the Magician card, what it comes down to is taking charge of the situation, coming clean about what it is that you are looking for and what it is that you want to see happen in this relationship. Um, I think just off the cuff advice here, take it for what it is, take it as you will. This King of Swords Emperor figure reminds me a lot of my husband. He is very uncompromising and very black and white in his thinking. But just because he wants to get to the truth of things and wants to be very black and white about what the truth is, doesn't mean that he needs everyone else to agree with him. What he wants is honesty about what's really going on and honesty about what the other person wants, even if it is irrational. So I think my advice here, if there's a certain way that you want to go about life, and again, I'm leaning toward you, the viewer, are probably the one who is struggling with getting on the same page with this person and defending your beliefs. You could probably the best way to handle this is just to be open and say, look, my traditions are very important to me. I believe there is value in living this way. I can't prove that to you. I don't have hard facts to share with you. I am not interested in proving it to you. This is what I believe and this is how I want to live. And is that something that you can be okay with? And can you let me have my beliefs and you have yours? And that's okay. And I think that if you approach it in that way, you may find that this other person is not as uncompromising as they seem. That if you are upfront and extremely painfully honest about what it is that you want and how it is that you are feeling, that this person will go, okay, that is new information for me to factor into my decisions. And I think that they will give it the appropriate weight and say, okay, you believe this thing that I don't see eye to eye with, but Is it a deal breaker? Maybe not. I don't know. But they're going to evaluate that and be able to come back to you and say, okay, you have these beliefs. I don't really need to change them. If you're okay with me not agreeing with them, I'm okay with you going ahead and living this way. Um, so I think it's going to be important in this connection for both of you to figure out what it is that you are willing to compromise on and what it is that you're not, and how far you need the other person to go. And because if you're coming into it with, I need this person to convert to my religion and adopt all of these lifestyle practices for me, and I need them to really believe, then this connection is probably not going to survive. Because this person is too logical and too deeply questioning to fake that. And they're not going to be willing to be dishonest in that way. Swords are all about truth, hard, painful, excruciating truth. And so I think this person is going to be willing to let you live whatever way you want to live, as long as you do not force them to accept that as their own truth. So it's going to be something to think about, whether you are comfortable with compromise here or whether you need more. But I think the other side of this connection is more open than you realize. And if you can take a step back from those anxious thoughts, if you can take a step back from the worry and fear and just be honest about what it is that you are looking for, you will very quickly find out whether this connection is the real deal or not. And again, this happened with the first deck. It's not really a straight answer to, is this connection the real deal? But it is some solid advice on how to find out and how to navigate this situation. So I hope that that was helpful to you. If this reading resonated with you, I'd love to hear about it in a comment. Or if you wouldn't mind hitting the like button, I'd appreciate that too. If you want to see more readings like this, please consider subscribing to the channel. But I'm going to wrap up this reading here. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope to see you again in the future. Welcome to our reading for deck number 3, our Modern Witch Tarot. As a reminder, we are asking, is this connection the real deal? And I will say, as a preface, the first 2 readings have been much more on the realm of getting an overview of the relationship and kind of next steps. So expect that it may not be a clear-cut answer. And I should have known better, because tarot is not very good at answering solid yes or no questions. But I'm going to go ahead and cut the deck. If this is your first time joining us, I tend to shuffle off camera, then I cut the deck and pull 3 cards to give us an idea to start with. After I read those 3 cards, I will go ahead and give some clarifiers. So, is this connection the real deal? Right off the bat, I'm gonna say this is a tough look here, but maybe. Okay. 8 of Swords in the reversed position. What does that mean? The way that I have been reading these is, generally speaking, I think the first card is coming in as you, the viewer, your side of the connection, and the third card is coming in as more the other side of the connection, and the middle card has been reflecting more what's between the 2 of you. I think that with the 8 of Swords reversed here, I think that you may be coming out of a situation where you felt very trapped and powerless. The 8 of Swords, when you see the 8 of Swords upright, it's a person surrounded by swords, tied up, blindfolded. It is a feeling of complete powerlessness, being trapped, stuck, unable to get free. With this card coming in reversed, I think that this is something that is finally releasing. You are finally realizing some of your own power. You are coming out of that trapped, helpless situation and coming back into hopefully a more positive mindset, a more neutral mindset at any rate. Um, it could be that you're coming out of a really bad relationship and you are um, now exploring a new connection. Um, Whatever the case may be, I think that you are coming out of a pretty bad place. If that doesn't resonate with you, consider whether they may be flipped and the person coming out of the bad situation is the other person in the connection. But I'm leaning toward. I'm guessing this is probably something going on with you. The Ten of Swords is a card of finality. Um, it is a card of this is truly dead, done, over. I don't know right off the bat if this is describing the current connection. I have some reservation about saying that. It could, but I want to read the rest of these three and get our clarifiers before I say anything for certain. With the Queen of Cups, we have very soft, nurturing, loving energy coming in from this is either you or the other person in the connection. I'm leaning towards the other person in the connection. The Queen of Cups can be quite emotional. They can be quite, they can get overtaken by their emotion from time to time. But for the most part, in their most positive aspect, the Queen of Cups is someone who has a lot of love, compassion, empathy to give to others, and they are open and receptive to love in return. It is a full cup that they are willing to share. So I think that, off the bat, it's hard for me to say this connection is a no-go because someone coming in with Queen of Cups energy, I have a hard time seeing that person as not being interested or available for a relationship. But let's get our clarifier cards and see what else is going on here. So for you, with your Eight of Swords, or for the other person, whatever scenario makes more sense to you here, we have Strength reversed. And so I think this is a confirmation that this is someone who is still finding their own power and their own capability. Um, with Strength reversed, I think that it can often indicate a need to tap into some inner strength. Um, I think of it a lot as emotional maturity, as healthy boundaries, as being able to stand up for yourself in a way that is powerful, but probably kind of quiet and understated. Um, I think of the strength card as the ability to say no when you want to say no, and to say yes when you want to say yes, and to be very clear and upfront about that. It doesn't have to be aggressive. You can say, no, thank you. I'm not interested in that. You can be very, gracious in accepting things, humble in accepting things. So I think for this person coming out of this Eight of Swords situation, that trapped feeling, that powerlessness, we're still finding our inner strength and building that up. And that is an ongoing process. For our Ten of Swords, we have the Two of Swords. For me, the Two of Swords is a card of difficult decisions. Sometimes it can feel like a lose-lose scenario, or it can feel like a very unclear decision to make. There are strong points on both sides. Um, with this coming in on the Ten of Swords, I think that you may be struggling to commit to whether something is truly over. And this is all leading me back to that idea of coming out of a bad relationship. I think that maybe there is some indecisiveness about whether we're truly ready to come out of that bad relationship, or if we're still holding on in some ways, if we're still hoping for things to get better, if we're still hoping that things will turn around. Um, I'm sensing a difficulty with coming to that sense of finality. Um, and I think it's important to point out that the person on this card in the Two of Swords, just as the person in the Eight of Swords reversed up here, we're blindfolded. We're not seeing clearly. We are um, trying to make choices and decisions with incomplete information, and with incomplete capacity. Um, I'm going to go ahead and get a clarifier for our final card and come back to the broad strokes of all of this. So for the Queen of Cups, we are coming in with the Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles is a figure who is very much in it for the long haul. They are slow and methodical, and they are at the beginning of a journey. Um, when I think of the Knight of Pentacles versus other knights, I often think of the tortoise and the hare, the old fable. The hare, the rabbit, takes off flying and doesn't have the energy to finish the race, whereas the tortoise is slow and steady and makes it to the end. The Knight of the Pentacles to me is always that kind of tortoise, slow and steady wins the race. With this coming in on the Queen of Cups, I have a really hard time believing that this connection is not extremely positive in terms of the real deal of a good relationship. This energy on this side seems like someone who is really ready to go there, who is really ready to invest. Um, if that feels like you, if this, what I'm describing, the open heart, the love and compassion, the willingness to go the distance, if that feels like you, then I would say that you are dealing with someone has been who has been pretty badly wounded, I would imagine, who is probably somewhat traumatized, who is still either learning for the first time or relearning a lot of those emotional skills, healthy boundaries. Um, they're still maturing in a lot of ways, and they're still um, trying to find their way in all of this. And so, if this is you, and you're wondering, is this someone I should invest in? If this is you and you're in the Two of Swords situation and you're going like, I just don't know. I don't know if it's really over for them, if they're really ready to move on from this bad place, or if it is truly over. I think what this reading is saying, that yes, it is truly over. The bad relationship they're coming out of, the bad situation, whatever it was, that's done, and they are coming out of that, and they are finding their inner strength. And if you can be patient with them and invest, I think that yes, this has a lot of potential, and this has a lot of heart in it. There's a lot of reason to believe that this could be the real deal. On the flip side, if this is you, if you're coming out of a really bad state and you are still finding your strength and you are trying to decide if you're really ready, if you're ready to move on and leave the past in the past, I think that the decision point here, you're probably coming to this reading wondering, is this person someone I can take a chance on? And to that question, I would say yes. This is someone who's ready to invest in you. They are ready to pour into your cup, but you've got to be ready to receive it, and you've got to be open to it. So I think this is perhaps the clearest one so far in terms of, is this the real deal? I think it is. But I think that one person in this has a lot of work to do. And I think that the other person in the scenario is a great person to do that work with and to help you with that work. Um, so long as you are truly committed to doing that work and not relying on this other person to cater to you. Um, I think it's very important coming out of the Eight of Swords energy to get out of a victim mindset and to take control of your own situation. Um, so this is just off the cuff advice at this point, but this is me. I sense a bit of myself in this. I sense, I have a partner who is very open and committed, and yes, he has his problems too, but um, for there's a lot of hard work that I have had to do emotionally through therapy to overcome really kind of a lifetime of putting myself last and developing my own internal strength, my ability to say yes or no, my ability to hold hard stances at all because I want to just be invisible and avoid making waves. That's been a hard journey. And if you're not doing the work on your end, your partner can't always be there to remind you, to set you straight. And it's not fair to ask them to continuously change their behavior to accommodate for your triggers and trauma. So just a piece of unsolicited advice. Take it for all that it's worth, which is not much. But because you came here for this reading, I'm assuming that you are looking for guidance, and I want to offer what I can from my own experience. That's all. But broad strokes, I think that this is a good investment, this relationship, this connection. I think it is the real deal. And I hope that you can navigate your way through it and find something really beautiful here. If this reading resonated with you, please feel free to leave a comment or hit that like button. And if you'd like to see future readings, please consider subscribing to the channel. We do these every week. With that, I am going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you again in the future. Welcome to our fourth and final reading in this video, deck number 4, our Critical Role 10th Anniversary Tarot deck. We are asking again today, is this connection the real deal? I'm going to go ahead and I've shuffled off camera. I'm going to cut the deck. My normal practice is that I draw 3 cards, give you kind of a baseline reading, and then jump into some clarifier cards, usually 3 more clarifier cards to give you a clearer picture. I want to give you as clear a picture as I can. Move these down slightly. So jumping right in. Our first card here is the Queen of Coins. I will give you a disclaimer. In the last 3 readings, I've been leaning toward this side of the reading is you, this side of the reading is them, the other person in the connection, and the middle is kind of the obstacle we're dealing with, and advice. That's the way it's kind of been shaking out in other readings. But I keep saying it's always possible that these are flipped, that this is you, this is them. So keep that in mind. Go with which one resonates the most to you. All right. Well, our first card, the Queen of Coins. The Queen of Coins is when I think of the Queen of Coins, I think of that sort of motherly figure that maybe is not always one to offer wise advice or tell you hard truths, but they'll give you a big old hug and they'll make you a nice dinner. They are very earthy, physical, present. They show their love in gifts and food and sharing whatever it is that they have. They may be very physical, very touchy-feely, more on the touchy side. They like to hug. They like to show physical affection. So I think over here we have someone who is very warm, very open, very ready to give what they have, especially in terms of their physical selves and their physical resources. With the sun coming in reversed in the center here, I think what we're seeing is maybe just a little bit of a downtime. With the sun is never a negative card, so that's the good news here. Um, when the sun comes in reversed, the message is generally, remember the sun will come out tomorrow. I won't sing it. I hate musicals. Don't at me. I just don't like them. But that's what pops into my mind. The sun will come out tomorrow. Um, it Any sort of, downturn that's happening right now, depression, um, a rough patch, that will pass, and the good times will return. With our third card, we have the Ace of Cups reversed. When it comes to the aces, they are representative of new beginnings. They are representative of opportunities, of the start of something, the seed of something. When it comes to the Ace of Cups, it is often associated with sort of the universal flow of love available to you. It is a source of kind of a bottomless cup, an overflowing, always full cup of love that is available out there. With it coming in reversed, I think that there may be some withholding, some caution, some delay in accessing that. Um, so I think, especially if we're thinking about it in terms of this is you, this is them, I think that they are coming in a little reserved. They are not immediately giving. You're having a hard time telling whether this person is the opportunity that they seem to be. So let's get right into our clarifier cards, because this seems very clear cut to me on top. Um, on our Queen of Coins, we have the Four of Wands. I think what I'm seeing here, the Four of Wands came in another reading too, and it's just always interesting to see the themes that come across the decks. Um, I think with the Queen of Coins and the Four of Wands, I think you're just feeling kind of tired. You are feeling like you're ready for this thing to just kind of fall into place. um, you've started this journey, and you're looking forward to that sense of homecoming, of like, we made it here, we're home, we get to rest and relax and just settle into this thing, and not have to fight so hard for it, not have to labor so hard to get there. I think that you're ready for a rest, and you're not quite getting that yet, and that's probably what has drawn you here. But again, always keep in mind, this could be flipped. This could be the other person. They could be, coming in with a lot of openness and warmth, and they're ready to just kind of settle down real quick, and you're not sure if that's legit, or if that's what you are looking to do as well. With the sun, we have the Two of Wands. So the Two of Wands coming in on the sun reversed. The twos always strike me as cards of decision, of it's got to fall one way or the other, right? There's only two options. So they're always kind of black and white in that sense. With the Two of Coins, I always take it as, things are kind of up in the air and they could fall one way or the other. With the Two of Swords, a difficult decision has to be made. With the Two of Wands, I think that there's a call here for some kind of decisive action. Um, you're either gonna you're either gonna go for it, or you're gonna go for something else. Um, there's a sense of should I stay or should I go with the Two of Wands. And I think with the Sun reversed, that's probably why this question is coming up. This seems like, if there is this kind of temporary downturn, there's this sort of rough patch that could definitely lead one to question, do I stick with this or do I cut my losses? Do I pack up my wands and take them where they're wanted? Um, and so this all tracks really well with what we've seen here. Somebody who's ready to give, ready to settle down, to stop having to fight so hard to figure things out. And there's this question of do I keep fighting? Do I keep going, or do I take myself elsewhere? With the Ace of Cups, our clarifier here is the Emperor. This is a tough one. This is me going a lot on intuition here, because the Emperor the Emperor is a character who is very much in control of his own environment. He rules with an iron fist. Um, the Emperor at his worst can be a deeply controlling and aggressive figure, more of a conqueror. The Emperor at his best um, can be benevolent, can be very giving and generous, but still very much in control. Um, I think that what we're seeing here with this Ace of Cups reversed, the question as to whether this person is going to show up um, with a real opportunity for love, with a real openness and offering of love. I think the reason it's not showing up is because this person is so tightly controlled, and is trying to maintain control of the situation and direct the situation. Um, this is going to be a tough call. I think that what I do go back to at the center of all of this is the Sun reversed. Again, the Sun is never a negative. The Sun is never gone forever. I think that what we're seeing here is temporary. And I think that there is a very real possibility here that if you stay, if you stick it out, that that this person on the other side will find their way. But I also think there's a very real possibility, and it's because of this deck in particular, and because of the character on the Emperor card, there's a certain level of narcissism to this character. And I don't want to over associate just with the character on the card, but I got this deck for a reason. And I think that when you're doing an intuitive reading, you make those kind of associations. There's a possibility that this person is always going to need to be in control and is always going to be trying to manipulate the situation to their own advantage. Um, and there may always be a little bit of friction there. There may always be a bit of a fight. If they are, if there is a true level of narcissism there, they may not be able to love in the way that you are looking for. I'm going to do something I haven't done for the other decks in this reading. I'm going to get some additional clarifiers, because I think it's important to know more about this person on the other side, what their capacity is, what is really going on with them. Because I don't want to lead you astray. I don't. All right. So we have the Nine of Coins reversed. The Nine of Coins is a card of fulfillment, particularly of earthly wants and needs. With it reversed, I think what we see in this person, this emperor figure, is that they may be someone who is struggling to feel like they have enough. And I think that that comes out particularly um, in money, in wealth, in um, the quest for more. I think that this person is probably someone who works a lot, puts work first, or who puts financial gain and accomplishment above other things in life. Um, I think that this is someone who is struggling to feel like they have enough. And if that is the case, it's going to be very hard for you to do anything about that. That is something that they have to kind of get to on their own. Because I don't get the sense that this person is actually in a lot of financial hardship. I think that they are probably doing pretty well for themselves, but they're going to keep pushing for, I need to get to this level before I can commit to a relationship. I need to get to this level before I'm ready to settle down. I need to have this much in savings before I feel comfortable taking a step back at work. But I feel like that's a bar that's always going to be moving. And I feel like waiting for this person could could really hold you back. Um, I want to get another clarifier on this center column, the Sun reversed and the Two of Wands. I want to get a sense of what the deck thinks that you should do. Okay, we have the Eight of Coins reversed. The Eight of Coins is a card that has a lot to do with um, deep absorption in your work, deep commitment, um, sometimes to the detriment of other things. With it coming in reversed here, my sense is that this is something that may not pay off long term. You know, I keep looking for something that is really definitive and really clear before I tell you this is not the real deal, because I do not want to be responsible for causing you to make a hasty decision or you know, I guess what I'll say here is do not take my word alone. Tap into yourself, tap into your own intuition, tap into whether any of this is, does this resonate? Does this feel true? Is this what you were afraid I would say? Is this what you were anticipating I might say? If that's the case, then sure, take it as confirmation that this is something that may not pay off, that this is someone who may never be ready. If this all sounds way off the wall and you have no idea what I'm talking about, I wouldn't take this as gospel for your connection. Maybe this wasn't the reading for you. Maybe I'm off base. I could be. Um, Maybe you are more on this side of things and you are feeling like, when am I going to be ready? When, you know, do I feel like it's time to jump in? If you're feeling like you're more on this side of the reading, like you are trying to time it just right, you are trying to make sure that you're set up, that you have enough, that you are ready to open your cup for business, um, then I think what you see on the other side is someone who's got their arms wide open waiting for you. There's not going to be a better time. Um, so that's the advice if the scenario is flipped here. Just because I have some OCD and I want this all to be symmetrical, I want to pull one more card on this column. So temperance, moderation. Um, I think that on this side of the equation, we have someone who is very down to earth and um, very dialed in. They are very content with who they are and what they have. They are ready to kind of settle down, um, take a load off. Um, I think this is someone who understands the value of moderation, of of not going to excess, of being content with what you have, of having enough, of temperance is all about, you know, there's two aspects to temperance. There's the moderation side of it, the appreciation for balance, the appreciation for balance between, work and the rest of life, the appreciation for balance between material things and the intangible things in life. There's also a kind of the idea that the hardships of life kind of solidify you into who you are, um, and that a little bit of challenge and adversity can make you better and stronger. I think so. That's the one side of the equation, is someone who's very balanced and very dialed in and very grounded. And the other side of the equation is someone who is really seeking a sense of stability and fulfillment, and is having a hard time figuring out what is enough. Now, if these two sides can come together, if this side can learn from this side, if this side can learn temperance and moderation, then I think there is a real shot here. But I think that what I'm getting here is maybe this just isn't it. Maybe this isn't the right timing. Maybe this isn't the right connection. I don't see it panning out in a fruitful way, but I leave it up to your discretion. Um, I'm going to do again another thing because I hate how wibbly wobbly this reading is. I am going to pull one of my advice cards just to see what they have to say. So I'm going to cut that over here. Interesting. All right, this is one that comes up a lot for me. There is magic all around you. Open your eyes and see. What I take that to mean here is that there is opportunity. There is a universal force out there that is working toward your greatest good. And I think what I'm really feeling from it is don't settle. Um, there's so much opportunity out there. And if this doesn't feel like a golden opportunity to you, then maybe consider taking yourself elsewhere. Don't settle for something lackluster just because it looks good on paper. Um, really aim for what it is you want, and know that there's a lot of beauty and wonder in this world, if you can open your heart to gratitude. I know that sounds so cheesy and so like advice column-y. Um, Feeling gratitude is easier said than done a lot of times. But taking time to appreciate the little things, taking time to appreciate minor magic around you can really open your eyes to, the possibilities in life. And I just think that, what I come down to on this is if you're on this side of the equation, if you feel like you are this Queen of Coins figure who is just ready to settle down and be happy, don't settle for this. If you are on this side of the equation and you are trying to figure out, is this enough? Is this going to fulfill me? You probably need to take more time to appreciate the simple things in life. And if you can find your way through that, then I think you would find a lot of fulfillment here. But it really depends on which side of this equation you're on and what you are willing to do for this connection. Uh, so, yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to let it go. Is this the real deal? I'm not sure. It probably isn't. It might not be. But it is ultimately up to you and your discretion. It is your life and your decision to make. And this is just my attempt at providing some information for you. I'm sorry that it wasn't as clear as you might have hoped. Maybe it is very clear because you do resonate with something in particular in this. But regardless, I'd love to know what you thought of this reading. Please consider leaving a comment or hitting the like button. If you are interested in more readings in the future, I post these every Tuesday. Consider subscribing to the channel to get those. But otherwise, we'll leave it there. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you again.